r/ask Reddit. What was your "this person is on another level" of stupid moment? I once worked in a Midwestern grocery store deli and I was trying to explain to a woman that the name brand and generic brand of the macaroni salad that we carried were in fact identical. The woman yelled at me saying she could only have the generic brand because one is made with mayo and the other is made with mayonnaise and I don't like mayo. When I tried to explain that mayo is an abbreviation of mayonnaise, she just said I'm from the South. I know my food and tut it away. She is going to be in for a shock when she goes to the pharmacy for her prescription of mayonnaise. Yep, she got it at the Mayo Clinic. I got a concussion a while back. A friend of mine told me not to come close because it might be contagious. They weren't kidding. Ex-flatmate cancelled the gas and electricity contract because it was too expensive. Wondered why we had no more electricity nor gas. She thought we paid €90 a month to get a hotline 24/7 in case of problem. I was friends with a couple who only had enough money to pay either the cable bill or the electricity. They paid the cable. A couple days later the power was turned off. I worked at a pet store in college. This customer asked me which food would make his pit bull swole. I suggested a high protein food with a good amount of exercise but advised that a lot of it was determined by the dog's genetics. He asked me if we sold genetics. Rescued a co-worker on the side of the road with a flat tire, waiting for the tow truck. I pointed out the nail at the top of their tire. They scoffed and looked at me like I was the stupidest person in the world and exclaimed, "That's not true BC, it's flat at the bottom." I just walked away and never brought it up again. Gosh, what an idiot. Nails are always flat on the top. I was friends with a guy who believed those fake Apple adverts like Apple Wave, microwave your phone for instant battery charge. I was so dumbfounded that he actually fell for it. When I saw him the week after and he had a new phone, it all clicked for me. This was my first experience in retail where I learned what many customers would be like. Seasons were changing, so we put a lot of shirts we had to get rid of in the front and made them 50% off. I was working the register when a woman came up to buy her things. I rang her up and could see a look on her face like something was wrong. That's when the following happened. "Lady, why is this so much?" Me. "Pardon me, lady, this should only be $10 not $20. I thought that maybe her item was on sale. So I asked if she could point out the sign because I wasn't aware of it. It was a small store and we didn't have to walk anywhere. "Lady, this sign here." Me. "This sign says that all shirts are 50% off." Lady. "Yes. So why is this full price?" Me. "This is a hat. We had a sale recently on scarves. For $4.15. The signs clearly stated scarves. The word scarves was in all caps, bold, underlined and bigger than all the other words on the sign. The amount of people I had come up to the counter with 4 items of clothing, worth $30 plus each, and tell me that it was for $15 was unbelievable. After pointing out that the sign clearly said scarves, a few even told me that the signs were misleading. My wife's cousin and her husband, not baby daddy of her unborn child, fell on self-induced hard times and needed a place to stay for a bit. We set up a queen-sized air mattress in the living room for them. For 3 weeks I woke up to go to work and every morning saw them sleeping on it sideways with their legs hanging off the edge. Then one day she asked me to buy her a bigger air mattress because this one was hard on their backs. I told her to turn her body. The ducking thing even has a built-in pillow on one end. Her response was that then they couldn't see the TV. Then duckine turned the air mattress to face the TV. That's the story of how I became an a-hole to the trailer trash side of the family. The bad part is that it's only one of many stories. The husband was a cook at Applebee's. The baby daddy was a cook at Applebee's. And her new husband was another cook from the same ducking Applebee's. All working together. Did she also work at Applebee's? Also, was this in Crosby, TX by chance? I've heard some messed up stuff about that Applebee's. Yes, she was a hostess. No, not Crosby, but you are scary close. Like uncomfortably close. I used to work with a girl who was sweet but so dumb. We were in a meeting once and somehow someone mentioned baked ham. My manager said, "Doug, I hate ham. It looks like human flesh." The girl I mentioned was sitting next to me and looked horrified and whispered, "Does ham really come from people?" I'd be more worried about the manager that knows what cooked human flesh looks like. When I served in the King's African Rifles, the local Zambezi tribesmen called human flesh long pig. Never much cared for it. Woodhouse, you old smackhound. I was once asked how it felt to come to the US as a refugee. I'm from Germany. She then looked rather surprised when I told her that Hitler has been dead for 75 years and that Germany is one of the more liberal countries in the world these days. She full on thought I fled Nazi Germany. Back in 2000, I was in the US with my German girlfriend at the time and we convinced my roommates that Germans live in teepees. Some wigwams already had power but not all. I worked at a meat desk for a summer job, and a woman came in and asked if we had any meat without spices or sauces. She then proceeded to tell us that the doctor had said that her dogs got sick because she kept feeding them pizza and they couldn't handle the spices. She then said, oh, but they love pizza so much. I feel bad for them. I'm probably still gonna feed them pizza. I hate people like this who knowingly harm their children and or pets' health. At least with children you can call CPS, but pets are sadly at these dumbasses' mercy. I work for Parks Canada in Yoho National Park. I have been asked the question, seriously, where do you keep the animals at night? Twice in my career. To this day I still find great joy imagining what they thought was going on each night as we collected every large animal in the parks. Hey, you, duck you bear, get your ass over here. Come on, don't be a shit. Get in there. Spent 7 years working for TSA. Had a pretty sweet detail where I would assist passengers who did not have it or assist SAR agents if they had questions about the validity of the given ID. I get a call on the radio asking for assistance and verifying an ID. I come over and ask what the issue is. Agent hands me a driver's license and says can't accept this Canadian ID. Hearing this, I assume it's expired or the wrong name. I take a look and see that it is an Alaskan driver's license. I quickly approve the passenger and send them on their way. I then spent 10 minutes explaining that Canadian DLs are acceptable according to TSA regulations and Alaska has never been a Canadian territory. This co-worker has a master's degree in mathematics and served 25 years in the US Air Force. It's dumbfounding how people can be so high functioning in some areas and leave you bewildered as to how they even managed to survive to adulthood in others. I think the bigger issue is that he has a master's degree in math and works for TSA. Knew a girl in middle school that didn't understand the concept of perspective. She also thought north was whichever direction you were facing at the time. Ah yes, true north. Back when the Fukushima nuclear power plant disaster happened, we were discussing how the reactor had failed in a science class. 5 minutes into the conversation a girl piped up and said, I don't see what the big deal is. Why can't we just regrow it? She deadass thought a nuclear power plant was a plant. Summer camp counselor made all the kids on a school bus keep the windows up on a hot day because they could feel the air conditioning coming from the front of the bus. It was so hot and I, maybe 10 years old at the time, had to explain to the 40-year-old counselor that the air conditioning they were feeling was the wind coming in through the bus driver's open window. She still didn't believe me. I begged her to ask the bus driver to confirm the bus did not have air conditioning, but she didn't want to bother him while he was driving. It was like a 1-hour bus trip. She finally got hot enough and asked the bus driver if the bus had air conditioning. And he jokingly said the bus only has air conditioning when the windows are down and the wheels are turning. She then looked back at me and said, see, I told you the bus had air conditioning, and proceeded to force us to keep the windows up. How does someone that ducking dense become a teacher? If you find out, please let me know. I'd like a career change. The time a friend told me how much he hates potatoes while eating french fries, and I literally blew his mind by telling him french fries are potatoes. Wonder how your friend would feel about onion rings after learning what's inside those things. Potatoes? Not me, but a friend worked in a call center for a CC company in the disputes department. The number one item people called to say they never purchased: interest charge. To be fair, someone in my history class argued that Mussolini was a type of pasta. I knew a kid in high school who thought Tortellini was a dictator. An old co-worker was telling me that there's people out there that think Alaska is an island. I laughed in disbelief, but another co-worker overheard and was flabbergasted. What? It's not? But it's always drawn off to the side with Hawaii. Point made. Another time a guy with a really thick accent walked in. Same girl was like, oh wow, I like your accent, where are you from? Said guy. Have a guess her response? Haviguas? I've never heard of that place before. And walked away. She is super sweet, just slightly oblivious. I teach high school English. I was working with a small 9th grade group and found out all 4 of them thought Alaska was an island. They were not kidding. I grabbed a globe to show them. One asks, but how recent is that map? I laughed really hard but discovered, again, that it was not a joke. Me, when I was a kid, I had a real old transistor radio. Asked my parents for a newer radio, so I could receive and listen to newer music. I mean, that could make sense if you were the right age for the AM/FM split. Had someone ask me, is Europe on Earth? Actually, Europa is a moon of Jupiter. A friend didn't have coins for a vending machine but did have $1. She folded up the dollar and forced it into the coin slot and then did not understand why she did not get her item. For me, I had a concussion and was getting x-rays taken. They gave me a lead blanket to wrap around my twig and berries. I took it and wrapped it around me like a cape. I could not understand what they wanted me to do. In your defense, you were concussed. There was a girl in my high school who forced the teacher to pause a documentary about people living in mud huts in Africa because she was upset that they were showing us fictional movies in a history class. It took everyone else in the room to convince her that people actually live like that in some places. Wealthy area living for ya. Funny in part because it's usually other way around. People who don't believe that there are modern cities and many countries in Africa. I'm an identical twin, and have been asked all manner of utterly ridiculous questions about it throughout my life. But I think the stupidest was when a girl once asked me, do you ever get yourselves mixed up with each other? I responded, are you asking me if I ever sometimes think I'm my brother? She replied, yeah, no, I don't. When I was in high school, there were these 2 girls that constantly just blew my mind. One of them asked, what does insignificant mean? And the other replied, why something is significant. The first girl looked at her and went to, okay, I get it. That reminds me of that 90s movie where 2 girls are talking and one asks, I know you can be overwhelmed and you also can be underwhelmed, but can you ever be whelmed? Then the other one goes, I think you can in Europe. I work retail. Had a customer a few weeks back pull her mask down to cough into the open air and then pull it back up. Really makes you wonder why there are people like this in the world. I want to ask these people why they did that, then explain that they're wearing the mask for that exact reason, to protect others. But I'd be worried that they'd just be like, oh, this is to protect others, not me? So you're saying I don't need to wear the mask at all? We asked our classmate to prove she knew the 7 continents. Her list went like this: North America, Europe, China, the Pacific Ocean, I shit you not. Damn, to think she missed Mount Everest, the Pacific Ocean, and the Polar Express. It's like they aren't even teaching geography in schools anymore. Sad really. So I was talking to one of my online friends about global warming for whatever reason. I said that my mom ran into an old high school friend that didn't even believe that there was trash in the ocean. We live like 10 minutes from the beach, so you can clearly see evidence of trash coming in from the ocean. Anyways, my online friend one-upped me and said they met someone who believed in global warming but they were in support of it. I've heard that a few times. An older relative says it's part of Revelation and she's eager for it to come. The earth destroyed by fire and all that. In high school I met a boy who asked me for a hygienic cloth because he thought he had a period. Actually he only sat on a melted popsicle. Poor guy might not have gotten the talk by then. Going through security and the person says I need to show a different form of it. I ask why, because I gave them my driver's license. They say I need a US document like a green card or something. I'm a US citizen. Then I realized. I explained how District of Columbia is long for DC. Like Washington DC, as in the capital of our country. OMG, I can relate. I'm from New Mexico. The number of people that think we are a foreign country is astounding. Watching a man try to open the locked front door of my shop while a bright red closed sign was literally inches from his face. He kept looking at the door like it was just stuck. When I was younger I was mad that everyone else had an accent and I didn't. 3 years later I realized that I did in fact have an accent and that I was on another level of stupid. Dude burned down his convenience store for an insurance claim and stopped the milk and bread deliveries the day before. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.